Hello and welcome, everyone, and welcome to our guest, Carolyn Sharp. I'm Melissa Minnich, author of High on Life, A Prescription for Bliss, and live event host for Humanity's Team, a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to make conscious living pervasive worldwide by 2040. And I'm coming to you live from Austin, and we're so excited to have Carolyn join us today. Good morning, good afternoon, Carolyn. How are you?
I'm wonderful, and I'm so excited to be here and chat with you.
Oh, we're excited to have you. And where are you connecting from today?
I'm in West Newbury, Massachusetts, so the North Shore of Massachusetts.
I bet it's getting really beautiful there right now.
It is. I'm looking out the window at some fall leaves and
Mm,
sunshine.
Sounds so yummy. I want to
Hmm.
welcome Carolyn's audience, the Scene Network, those streaming live through the Humanities Team Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Stream Plus members that are here in the green room with us. Thanks for being members. And I can see some of you on camera. Hi. Welcome, everyone. And because it's a live program, we will have time for comments and questions. So try to get your question in within the first 30 to 40 minutes of the program. Post it in the chat, and you may get your question answered. So let's dive in. Carolyn Sharp is a dedicated healer who has worked over the last 30 years as a therapist, coach, and facilitator to heal the sacred space between people. Carolyn is a relationship alchemist who transforms the most challenging conversations into opportunities for deeper connection, love, and understanding. She's the author of Fire It Up, Four Secrets to Reigniting Intimacy and Joy in Your Relationship, a book that is touching hearts worldwide and really recently won a silver medal at the Reader's Favorite International Book Award and was finalist for the Next Generation Indie Book Awards. What makes Carolyn's work so powerful is how she weaves together ancient wisdom about human connection with modern neuroscience. Stuff right up my alley. I can't wait to talk about this. Helping people to remember that every difficult conversation is actually a doorway to greater intimacy. Through her sacred conversations approach, she guides people back to their natural ability to see and be seen, to speak with truth with love, and to listen with their whole being. Welcome, Carolyn. So
Thank
you've been
you.
a therapist for 30 years. What have you noticed about communication challenges and how they've changed over time? Especially like we live in this fast-paced social media world, stressed out, overachieving, everything. So what have you noticed?
Well, in the last 5 years, I've really noticed a significant change. And I think it's a combination of the political changes that are taking place in the country, as well as the increasing reliance on technology. The COVID pandemic and the lockdowns that happened, and everybody moving to sort of full-time virtual work, myself included as a therapist, really altered people's communication, their attention span, and so that impacted us. And then culturally, politically, the increasing divide between left and right, if you want to call it that, and the increasing binary between right and wrong, or the impression of right and wrong, has really altered people's capacity to be with each other through difference and division of opinion. And so it has really challenged our capacity to be with one another, be with people that challenge us, and to really listen, like you said, with our whole beings.
Hmm. Well, I find that you said literally the last 5 years. So it was like there was almost a divide in 2020 when
Mhm,
everything started
mhm,
shifting and
mhm,
people did go inside and that. And I've also noticed that challenge of like I used to see people would embrace diversity. I'm one of the, I
mhm.
travel the world. I love culture. I want to know people that don't have the same opinions as me. But now for some reason, there's this noticing of right like well if you're not like me the other then
Mhm,
then
mhm,
then I don't want anything to do with you. What do
mhm,
you think is
mhm,
really the key behind this breakdown? Always say there's a breakdown before a breakthrough, but this
mhm,
breakdown that's happening, is it because of our
mhm,
nervous systems? Is it because of
mhm, mhm,
is this what's happening, or let's
mhm,
dive deeper into that piece of
mhm.
it.
Well, I think it's such a good question, and I'm such a brain nerd, and I'm such a relationship nerd. I love to think about it and to process it with people. And I think that it's a few things. we naturally have two competing drives at all times. One is to survive, to
Mhm.
keep ourselves alive, and one is for connection. We need both simultaneously. Our brains are continually scanning our environment for threat to our safety. And the biggest threat to other humans is other humans. We are each other's predators. And so we're
Yeah.
scanning our environment, we're scanning other people to see, are you safe for me? And meanwhile, we also need to connect with other human beings. We need human connection, just like we need air that we breathe and water to drink and food to fuel our bodies. We need human connection. From the moment that we're born, babies are reaching their arms up, they're smiling, they're making eye contact, they're doing things because they need to bring other humans together. It is innate in us. And those two competing drives really challenge our capacity to be with both together. And in the last 5 to 10 years, there's an increase in competitiveness and an increase in needing to win. And we saw that politically, where in previous national campaigns there was a civility that went on, a agree to disagree, I want to persuade you that my way is best for the country, but you thinking your way doesn't make you bad. And that has moved, we have moved further and further away from that. And I think it has had a contagion effect in how we interact with one another. That you thinking badly, you thinking that people deserve X or don't deserve X makes you bad. And it makes you not only bad, it makes you dangerous. And in this, we're dehumanizing each other. And it's really increasing the division, increasing the difficulty in connecting with one another, and increasing the fear, um, and the feeling, the belief that I'm not safe to be with you because you're different from me.
Mm. And safety is the key, right?
Safety is the key. I mean, we can't really, our brains don't operate or function very well when we don't feel safe, when we're alert to, am I going to get killed? Symbolically speaking, we can't really focus on what you're saying. If I think it's interesting, if I agree or not, how I feel about that, we can't even concentrate on that or process that because we're so focused on, am I safe or not? So if Maslow's hierarchy of needs was sort of on an emotional basis, I mean, and in a very real basis, the bottom of that is safety, is physical safety. And so if we're perceiving that we're not safe physically, and then again, if we're not safe emotionally, it's hard to go on from there and do anything else in our brains.
Mhm. And so with this idea of like safety, how does that actually show up in a conversation?
Mhm. In a conversation where, and I talk about this in the course, we misperceive that communication is just what you're saying. And in fact, only about 30%, and the statistics vary, but only about 30% is that verbal communication, what the words that I'm using. It is much more, 70% or more, nonverbal. So it's my tone,
Mhm.
it's my volume, it's my facial expression, it's my hand gestures, it's all of that. And our brain is reading all of it and interpreting all of it. So if when we're talking about something, I see your face become angry, I may perceive that, and we're talking about on an unconscious level. I may perceive it. My brain may read that as dangerous. You're mad at me. You think I'm wrong. You think I'm bad. You think I'm stupid. You're going to leave me. Our brain starts interpreting, reading, and reacting to this on a very fast level, much faster than our intellectual brain can process it and go, oh, she just disagrees with me, or she has another idea, or anything like that. The lizard part of our brain, the amygdala and the brainstem, is reacting very, very quickly. And so I am reading danger, danger in your face from your facial expression, let alone the words that you use.
Mhm. And so one of the keys to shifting that or feeling more safe is something that you talk about. You say listening with your whole being. And because
Mhm,
usually
mhm,
we're in response mode, right? We're there and like before I haven't even heard
mhm,
the what my partner or the person that I'm talking to is saying, and I'm already ready to respond. I'm not
mhm,
actually listening to them because I've seen a movement or something that's I have to say
mhm,
this to get it out. And
mhm,
so instead
mhm.
there's so what exactly do you mean by listening with your whole being?
So what I mean is really slowing down the process and bringing your awareness into your full felt experience of being in connection with this other person. Focusing your attention on your curiosity about learning about this other person, on your compassion of what drives any difficulty you're having, and prioritizing, above all else, prioritizing the experience of being in connection to each other. Focusing on those three things helps ground us in the purpose of the interaction beyond making a point, beyond being right, beyond getting to the facts of the situation, and instead is about the felt experience of being in connection with one another. And it requires really slowing down to feel all of those things, to notice all of those things, and to be present to everything that's in the space between us, to recognize that you have a different orientation toward, you have a different understanding of, have a different felt experience of this conversation, and being curious and interested in knowing what that is. How does it feel to you when I say, I like X? What happens for you? And being present in my body to notice, how do I feel when I say I like X? And what do I notice when I see you go, oh, you do? What happens? What's happening for you and what's happening for me? When we're able to slow it down and really listen with all of our nervous system, with all of our bodily sensations, we're able to be much more present in the conversation and be more
Mm.
intentional about how we listen and how we respond.
So beautiful. So let's dive into this a little bit more with a clip from Sacred Conversations.
Listening is hard. It's a practice that we do every day. And yet, if you are like most people, much of the time, you're not actually listening. And here's why. When we are truly listening, we are focused entirely on what we are receiving from another. And in this very fast paced world, many people, when they hear someone say something, they begin preparing for what they're going to say in response. Their counter argument, their question, their thoughts, their reactions. And this is particularly prevalent right now throughout the world. The arguments are going ping-ponging back between things. But the reality is, you cannot listen and respond simultaneously. It is not possible to do both. And so, if as someone is speaking to you, if as you are even just listening to your heart, listening to your breath, you are beginning to think about what's next, if you are beginning to formulate a response to the person you're speaking with, the person you're listening to, you are no longer listening. And this is why listening is so difficult. And it is a sacred practice because that opportunity to really take in the information being offered as we listen is an opportunity to deeply connect with that person. And maybe that person is ourself. But it is sacred because when we truly listen, when we stop responding, when we stop preparing, when we stop countering, we have a deep and rich opportunity for connection. And it is through that that healing can take place. Healing of the divides culturally, healing of the divides between who we really are and what we are saying, what we are doing, what we are racing toward. When we truly listen, we can connect back to the truth of who we are, to our individual and our shared humanity.
Listening, it's such a powerful expression, and yet with listening to that, I can say that I don't think most of the world listens. Right? We're
Nope.
not listening. So what's actually happening in the brain when someone stops
Mhm,
listening and they, like, start
mhm,
mentally responding
mhm,
and they're there? What's actually going
mhm.
on?
Well, and I want to say, I want to normalize how difficult this is. It's difficult for me. It is a skill and it's a practice, just like a meditation practice. You have good days when you're sitting and you're able to fully attend, and you have days where your brain is racing around and you've got monkey mind. It's sort of the same process where our nervous system, we like to think that we can control our nervous system. We have very little control over our nervous system. And so, and I sort of label this different temperature topics. Is how I talk about it. That if we're talking about a low temperature topic where there is very little emotional stake in the conversation, what to have for dinner, perhaps, or the weather, or something, we may not have a lot of emotional responses. We may not have, it may not trigger anything in our nervous system. When you move up the temperature to a medium or
Mhm,
high temperature topic, to something that you feel very deeply about, you're very worried about, you're very sad about, you feel shame, fear, or upset of another kind, your nervous system gets involved. And we don't actually choose. I think I'm going to get very upset about this topic. Our nervous system takes over. Usually because we have memories, we have experiences in life previous to present day, that conversation, that topic, that area was not done, felt, experienced in a positive way. It was experienced in a painful or dangerous or traumatic way. And so our brain is readying itself continually in that survival drive to keep itself safe. So if we're talking and you bring up something that, unbeknownst to you, I have a history with, you know, X book is really dumb, and that's my favorite book. Silly example. But I may have a reaction because as a child, I was told I was stupid for liking X books, or for I was nerdy for being a book nerd, or whatever. And so my nervous system reacts. It starts listening. Is she saying that about me? Does she think I'm a bad person? Does she? And so we start to respond much faster than we know. And we start readying ourselves to take care of ourselves in that situation. So that's what the preparation and the response is a, let me keep myself safe.
mhm,
Or if I feel like you're telling me you're going to leave, or you don't want to be with me anymore, or you don't like me anymore, I'm going to try and convince you to stay because that idea is threatening. And
mhm,
again, this happens so much faster than our intellectual brain realizes, that we're already, 6 miles down the road before we realize, oh, I've stopped listening.
mhm. And so, like you were saying, that piece about, like, well, if I leave, or if someone, you're triggering this. Maybe it's an abandonment wound from childhood,
Hmm.
like when somebody left me, or when I wasn't, I was rejected, or somebody didn't
Hmm.
like the thing that I did. So, how
Right.
someone that, I mean, obviously being able to listen is very important,
Hmm.
but if I can't control my nervous system yet, or if I don't know
Hmm.
what those responses are, how do
Hmm.
I start to heal the pieces of me
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
have this reaction so that I can
Hmm.
listen?
Hmm. Part of it is that embodied practice of being with yourself and being fully present to what comes up for you when you listen to another person. If you know you're going into a conversation with someone who is challenging for you, they're very different from you, you've had a history of difficult conversations, to know, all right, this is going to be difficult. What do I need to help myself get through this so that I can be as present as possible to myself, and so that I am not there. You're offering yourself that same compassion and care that I'm prescribing you offer to another that you listen with, but you're offering it to yourself as well. You're normalizing, you're giving yourself grace for how difficult the skill is, that it is very difficult to listen. By doing that, you reduce the shame reaction that you might have of, oh shoot, I'm not listening anymore. Oh, I'm doing a bad job. That cuts us off from access to that compassion and that curiosity. So you're normalizing for yourself, this is going to be difficult. It's okay. I'm a growing and developing being, and so that you're softening to yourself, you're softening to the reaction, rather than, in Buddhism they talk about the two arrows. There's the first arrow of you feel the shame, and then there's the second arrow about feeling the shame about the shame, or anger and then shame, or sadness and then all of that sort of stuff. So we're trying to put down that second arrow and just go, interesting, I'm having a response. And
Mhm.
when I practice this with couples, I offer them and I help them learn to recognize when it's happening for them in real time, and to say, give me a second, I need to breathe for a minute because I notice my brain is going to response right now, or I'm having an emotional reaction to what you're saying and I want to stay fully present to you. And just in that pause, it helps create the safety for both of them to recognize, we're a team, we're working this together.
Mhm.
uh, and it helps both access compassion and curiosity. The person who is speaking is able to go, oh yeah, I guess I got a little intense in how I was talking about that, or oh, I used that word you don't like that I use, or whatever. And then they're able to get curious together in the midst of that process. So it really is working together with the other person, to recognize and to, ideally be able to say, when we talk about this topic, politics, for example, perhaps, we tend to get heated and we stop listening to each other. Will you sit with me and let's practice listening better to each other? Because I really want you to get to say what's important to you. I really want you to feel listened to. And I really want to be able to connect with you that way. When we're able to do that, it smooths everything.
I love that you said compassion. That
Mhm,
you say compassion creates safety, and we know, like
mhm,
we've had scientific studies, like Heart Math Institute has said compassion. It harmonizes the heart and brain together. We know that this
mhm,
isn't. You're saying take that compassion and bring it towards yourself. Like bring it in. We're
mhm,
so good at giving compassion to others, right? And like, how do I bring that to myself? So we're gonna watch
mhm.
this next clip. Compassion creates safety, and then we'll talk more about that.
Being curious and compassionate towards both our own wounds and sensitivities, our own vulnerabilities, as well as our partners, creates the emotional safety that makes this process deeply connecting and deeply sacred. Because we all carry wounds and vulnerabilities and sensitivities with us. And in today's world, where divisiveness is so profound, where the world has grown increasingly binary, a you versus me, us versus them, good versus bad, we have lost some of the curiosity about the differences between us, about the source of those differences, and we have grown less compassionate toward the reality that any difficult behavior, any negative action, any negative behavior is driven by a wound, a vulnerability, or a sensitivity. If I yell, it is because I am scared, I feel threatened. If I leave a conversation, it's because I feel overwhelmed or scared. There is always an emotional reason beneath any difficult behavior, any problematic behavior. That need, that reason does not make that behavior okay, but having curiosity and having compassion toward the suffering of others helps us work through and connect with each other.
That was such a powerful understanding of like really understanding that we can have emotional safety and in conversation in between one another instead of like the only way I'm safe is if I just stay over here by myself, which I think is part of the
Mhm.
disconnection that we're creating in the world right now.
Mhm, mhm. Absolutely. We're isolating ourselves from anybody that doesn't think like we do, because people that think differently from us are inherently bad. They're dangerous. They're wrong. And it doesn't feel safe to be in those because I don't know what's going to happen. Am I going to be cast out? Am I going to be rejected? Am I going to be made bad myself? So I'm just going to stay over here, and we shut ourselves off from the richness of learning from difference and accessing curiosity and compassion for the things I find difficult in you. It really, we lose everything, because in healing those things between us, we heal ourselves and we heal the greater world.
Mhm. So one of the things that you talk about, that you said in the beginning, was that we don't just listen to words. That somewhere around 30% of communication is verbal, but that other 70% is
Mhm.
the body, a tone, energy, posture, breath, like all those things. So how you talked about how we can hyper focus on like if somebody's angry. How do we train ourselves to really listen or understand the true meaning behind somebody's words?
Mhm. It's through that process, that slowed down process of bringing your full attention to the process between you, and the intention of, I want to focus on being in connection to you. Whether I agree with you or not, we can connect about our disagreement. We can connect about the pain between us in that disagreement between us about the topic. Focusing our intention and our attention and intention, we can focus all of our energy to the greater possibility beyond just the words that we use or the facts of the situation. Our human brain likes to attach to facts and data because we can hold on to it. Emotion and meaning is more amorphous. It's variable. We don't entirely know what it is. So our brain tends to hold on to and grab for the facts of the situation. And you see, I mean, like fake news and bad facts and fake all of the terminology that's out in the cultural world right now in the US is moving us away from the real truth, the human truth of, I'm hurting, I'm scared, I'm upset. So it takes that intention to focus on the possibility of connection between us, on learning, on growth, on healing, that helps us move out of that, the over focus on the words.
Mhm. And so that one piece with like the intention and attention when I'm
Mhm,
listening to someone else and
mhm,
then like really
mhm,
responding. But how do I, as if I'm the one, what could I do for myself to shift my own energy or body language
mhm,
or things like that so that I
mhm,
can support my partner that
mhm,
conversation I'm having so that they also feel more safe because it's a
mhm.
two-way street.
Right. It's a team. Listening is a team sport. And that's the other piece that we don't really think about. We're so focused on the outcome of the conversation, of getting to agreement or getting to the facts or being heard, or, whatever it is, that we don't focus on the process as much. And we don't focus on the reality that it is a team sport. For listening to really go in the ideal dream scenario, in the best version of it, it takes me really focusing on hearing you as the listener, and it takes you being conscious of the impact of your words and the way you're delivering your words on me. And so if we're working together and you're focusing, as the speaker, you're focusing your attention on, how's Carolyn doing? She looks like she's getting overwhelmed, or she's disagreeing, or she's upset. Can I slow it down and make it about the connection, rather than, I'm just going to ram through, I'm going to say everything I need to say, regardless of the impact it has on her. And if I'm just focused on getting through the conversation and making you calm down, and that's why I'm listening, we're not going to be in connection. And so it really does take both of us working together. And so for both of us to set that intention of, let's have a different kind of conversation. Let's have a conversation where we both feel listened to. And every couple I take this through, every pair that I take this through, because I work with more than couples, calls this exercise and this process a game changer for their relationship because it shifts everything. It helps them notice and see things they've never seen before. And I didn't realize that you got so upset when I used this phrase or this word. And now focusing fully on your reactions and getting curious about that and being interested in that, I see something totally new. And I see why, and being curious about it, I see why that word upsets you. And now I feel motivated to not use that word. Whereas before I was just like, I don't care. Like, I just want to say what I want to say. I don't want to have to censor myself and all of that. When we're in connection and our intention is focused on that connection, everybody becomes more connected to what's important and what can be gained through a healthy process of listening.
Mm. Oh yeah. I know how powerful this can be. My trigger was always just calm down. And when I was a child, I was always told I was too much, too loud, too this, too that, right? And so
Mhm,
anytime anybody in my world, didn't matter who it was, would just calm down. Like even if it was meant to be like nothing, I would have the worst reaction. And so
mhm,
once I
mhm,
realized that, and then I was able to communicate that, like you can use like, but chill out or just calm down does not work for me, right? It became a completely different rewiring of how
mhm,
I showed up in the world. So I can
mhm,
see how
mhm,
this completely just can transform when you have these types of conversations and allow yourself
mhm,
to really feel that. We're going to
mhm.
go to our third clip today. It is listening beyond words.
One of the key pieces that I just walked you through is listening beyond the words that are used. In our culture, we have an overemphasis on facts and data and evidence. And when we speak to one another, when we listen, we are looking for things to be quote unquote true, real, provable. And that limits us so powerfully in what passes between us beyond those words. And in truth, only about up to 30% of what we communicate is in our words, is in the verbal expression of what we are saying. 70, sometimes more percent of communication is nonverbal. It is our body language. It's the musculature of our face. It's our hands. It's our tone. It's our volume. It's our pace. It's what we're doing with all of our bodies. It is our energy. And when we over focus on the words and don't listen for things beyond the words, we miss an incredible amount of information about the person in front of us and what is important to them. So the goal in this exercise is not just to train yourself to more accurately hear words and to reflect those words, but to listen with all of your senses and to understand the person beyond the words they use, to listen for the meaning of what they are sharing with you. Slowing down the process and being more deliberate helps you notice the subtle cues, the pauses, the shifts in body language, the moments of tension and release, softness, hardness, all of that stuff. It allows you to notice that and to tend to that. Deep listening means tuning in not only to what's said and what's felt, but also to what is unspoken, that is present, even though it may not be spoken.
So maybe I'm the one that wants to have the deep listening and to really be present and to do this. And yet the person that I'm with, they want nothing to do with it. How does someone that doesn't want to be there when there's a disparity, right? Where there's one and the other one, maybe they
Mhm,
keep interrupting or these things happening. Like
mhm.
How do you
Mhm,
stay in your sovereignty and still have a
mhm,
sacred
mhm,
conversation when the other person isn't on board?
mhm. It's the best question. You get clear on why you want to get better at it. You get clear on your why for being a better listener and being more present to others without expecting the other person to participate. So, in getting clear that I want to be a better listener because I want to learn more about you, I want to understand you better. When someone experiences that, let's say you're with the partner that wants no part of it, they don't want anything to do with it. When they experience you being fully present to what they're saying, they're going to they're going to get more interested in it. Often that experience of I don't want anything to do with it is a form of expressing and communicating, I feel like you're making me wrong. I feel like you're making me the problem. And oftentimes the way we communicate, hey, I want us to practice listening, we're doing it in a way where we're saying to the other person, I want you to listen to me. And so part of that is being really present to how have I contributed to in this partnership with this other person, how have I contributed to their experience of not feeling safe to do this exercise? Because feeling heard, feeling understood, feeling listened to is a basic human need in relationship. We all need to feel heard, to feel respected, to feel understood. So when someone is like, I don't want any part of feeling understood or heard, there's something amiss there. They haven't experienced it. It sounds threatening, which is usually they've had an experience with someone saying, I want to listen to you. They listen, they go through the process, and then they're made bad for what they hear, for what they've shared. So using curiosity to, again, listen to the experience. Tell me more about why you don't want to get better at having conversations, because I want to learn you better. I want to understand you better. I want you to feel listened to and heard. It's a curious, it doesn't really make sense, right? That why wouldn't you want to experience that? Um, Often it indicates that there's a lack of emotional safety in that relationship for both people, and you have to turn on your curiosity to what has happened here for that to have taken place.
What if it's like in the moment, like you're not sitting down trying to have a sacred
Mhm,
conversation or trying to like
mhm,
create the container, and you're just in
mhm,
the moment, walked in the house, somebody's in the kitchen and something happens. Like how do you hold your space in that, when that other person is like, maybe they
mhm,
had a really bad
mhm,
day at work and something
mhm,
happens, you're
mhm.
like, hey, and they're just not even in a space for that.
Right. Right. And sometimes we're not even in a space for that. This isn't a practice that I would say is going to happen 100% of the time for any human being.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to, you've come out of traffic, you've had a terrible day, you don't feel well, you're hungry, you're tired, your brain is not really primed to be present to listening. I mean, it's like mindfulness. No one, well, maybe the Dalai Lama, maybe these monks who spend 23 hours of the day in mindful attention are able to do it all the time. Most of us humans that live in the natural, in the, crazy world that we live in, modern world that we live in, are not able to be mindful all the time, nor are we able to listen all the time. So part of this is recognizing this is not the time or the place. I can see that you don't have capacity. If I'm paying attention to myself, I don't really have capacity for this, and let's come back at a time when we do have capacity. And I think that's one of the most powerful things to do, to recognize it's not the time. It's not the time for sacred listening. And even, I mean, there are people, I don't want to say that you're going to have the experience in practicing this. You're going to have the experience of being able to do this with every person in your life or every person in the world, because let's be real, there are people that are not safe for us to practice this. I'm not suggesting that you should heal every relationship in your life, because there are some relationships that are just, we have to determine, are no longer safe. So there may be people for whom this exercise isn't going to work. You have to be invested in it. I mean, ultimately, both people need to be invested in it. And sometimes, like I was talking about before, you can bring someone along. There are people you won't be able to bring along, and there are times of day or circumstances where you're in traffic together and you have to get somewhere and you're rushing, and deep listening is not going to occur in the car when there's music on and teenagers in the back seat and everybody's stressed. Deep listening is not going to occur in that circumstance. But it is a practice that will deepen your relationships when it is practiced, when both people are intentional about it.
Powerful. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that not everybody's ready and not everybody's going to be on board yet, right? So we're going to watch
Mhm.
our fourth clip today, Grace, when others aren't ready. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat, whether you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're at right now, and we will happily get them answered for you.
Not everyone, as we see every day, we talk with will be interested in having a sacred conversation. Some people, like that strong-willed teenager or the opinionated neighbor, may care more about getting their way or winning than on connection. This is exactly where the practice becomes even more sacred. Staying grounded in your own intention to listen and lead with curiosity, even when others don't meet you there, it has power. Like the metta practice in mindfulness, which is a loving kindness meditation, we begin with easier people to imagine, our beloved, before we move on to that person that challenges us. And we move slowly toward more challenging folks. The same can be true in the process and practice of becoming a deeper listener and toward creating more sacred connections through deep listening. Listening with grace, with that understanding that this being human is difficult. Even in these moments of difficulty and deep conflict and hurt feelings can be transformative. Bringing full presence and curiosity and compassion to these moments, even if it is one-sided, is transformative. It frees some of the negative energy, some of the tension, and allows us to see things differently and to connect with our hearts. And it also feels better to lay our own weapons down of aggression and of winning is not a healthy state for us. And so for you, I want to help you lead with curiosity and compassion, even if you aren't met there, because it will feel better to you. Should you be met with curiosity and compassion? Yes. Does this entitle anybody to talk to you disrespectfully? It doesn't. But talking back disrespectfully doesn't get you any further either. So it's about creating space in yourself, which does spread through opening your heart with curiosity and compassion so that you have more time and space to decide what you want to do, rather than being clutching in the experience of negative emotion.
I love that you say laying your weapons down because we know when you create resistance, resistance against resistance, all it is
Mhm.
is a push, push. But when one person lets go, there's nowhere else for that energy to go. And it has to eventually. I was actually having this conversation with my sister last night. I was like, just stop responding. Eventually, it's just going to dissipate, right? Like and it's in the coaching practice and things that I've seen, like that's one of the most powerful things you can do. If that other person is not going to be a part of the conversation or they're just going to keep their resistance, then if you just lay your weapons down, it doesn't mean that you're wrong or right or any of those things, but it changes the energy of everything.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It powerfully offers us an opportunity to be with ourselves. We're clutching our weapons. We're resisting so hard. We're protecting ourselves so hard. We're not actually any safer. We don't feel any safer. We're using up energy when if we drop our weapons and are open to, wow, this is really hard, and offer ourselves care and curiosity, we can learn about ourselves and we can come to an awareness of, I don't think there's anything here for me. And, I don't think there's any benefit to us trying to resolve this issue because we just keep coming back here and back here. And then that invites the other person to go, oh, they're not fighting anymore. What's up? They're not even engaging with me anymore. They may lean forward.
Yeah. So how do these tools apply beyond our intimate relationships, right? Like beyond just the
Mhm.
romantic, but maybe even into like the workplace,
Mhm.
political, our friends.
Mhm. It applies everywhere. It applies in every relationship. The human need to be understood and seen, the human need for connection applies everywhere. We want that engagement at the workplace. We want that engagement out in the world when we're at a protest or we're at at a community meeting or we're discussing something. We want to be understood. That's why we're speaking in the first place. But I want to share what my thoughts are about this. We want to contribute in some way. So learning to listen to ourselves, first of all, I mean, we all are talking to ourselves a lot of the time, and to actually listen to what am I saying, how am I talking to myself, how am I talking about this situation to myself, to listen and to slow down and feel our whole body as we talk to ourselves transforms that moment for ourselves. If we have a more grounded relationship to ourselves, it leads to more capacity to be grounded with one another, and that offers the opportunity to bridge the huge divide that exists right now, to see each other beyond what we think, beyond the information we're carrying around from whatever we're watching or reading or seeing out in the world. It allows us to see each other as human beings that are all carrying a tremendous amount, all navigating a very complicated, very scary world. If we see each other there, we can connect there of I may absolutely despise what you believe in, but I can see you're living a life that feels in alignment to you. And I can connect with that, even
Mm,
though we're going to walk away and I'm still going to think your beliefs are disgusting, perhaps. But I had a human to human interaction with you, and I didn't feel disrespected, and I wasn't disrespectful, and I feel better in that moment, having had that interaction, than the one where we scream at each other, neither of us listening to each other, and we just scream at each other how wrong or bad the other person is.
mm. Yeah, powerful. So we do have a question from the audience. Says
Awesome.
Deb says, I'm dealing with a daughter that is married to a narcissist just like her father, and I've been pushed away further and further. How do I communicate with her so she can hear me and help her to trust me? We're supposed to begin therapy together, but she's been delaying our first meeting.
Mm. Oh, that sounds really hard. It's so hard to have a child in particular because we are wired to protect our babies. It's so hard to have a child in an unhealthy, scary, dangerous situation. So my heart goes out to Deb and that circumstance. You can't make someone hear you. That is one of the things that can't happen. I can't make another person hear me. I can lean in with the intention and care to be supportive and to be present to my child's experience. And that is the place to go to. What I would advise is focus on that listening of your daughter's experience. What does your daughter need you to hear? What does she need you to understand? What support will that offer her by you being fully present to her experience, rather than what you think her experience is or what you're afraid your experience is? And so, this exercise of taking your intention to fully understand your daughter's experience, where she's at right now, maybe she doesn't want to be there either, but she doesn't feel ready to make that move. Being fully present to that will help you be in her experience rather than your experience of her experience. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. So tell us a little bit about your course, Sacred Conversations. Who's it
Mhm.
for? What kind of transformation have you seen from those who, do this work?
It is for anybody and everybody that lives in relationships. So anybody that interacts with other human beings will find benefit in this. And moreover, anybody that wants a deeper relationship to themselves. The kind of transformation they will find is in a deeper, richer relationship to their body, to their nervous system, to the reactions and responses that they automatically have. Because one of the things that's true about our brain is that we automate things. Our brain is continually trying to make itself more efficient. So if you say a word that I am sensitive to, my brain already has a response automatically there. And I'm not even aware that I respond in a particular way half the time if I'm not attending to it. So by going through this process, you will tune into all the things that happen for you in conversation that you may not even be aware of. And it will help you understand why things have existed in this pattern in your relationships, in your relationship to yourself, in your relationship to, I mean, because there are different levels of there are different levels of relationship. There are children, there are partners, there are neighbors, there are friends, all those different levels of relationship. You'll understand why patterns exist in the way they do. And you'll be able to make a conscious choice about whether those patterns work for you, whether they're helping you grow and heal, or whether they're just keeping you safe and limiting your growth and your healing from the things that you don't want to automatically do anymore. You want to be more intentional and make intentional change to do things differently.
Mm. And so sacred conversations can lead to reigniting intimacy. You have a book,
I
Fire It Up,
do.
4 Secrets of Reigniting Intimacy and Joy in Your Relationship. Tell us a little bit more about your book.
Well, I created a course for couples. As you mentioned, I've been a therapist for 30 years, and a big bulk of that is helping couples. And over those 30 years, I've seen the patterns of issues that couples have. And so I developed a course to try and teach couples prevent those issues, to proactively create health in their relationship. And it's called the Fired Up Marriage Accelerator. And so from that, I had a publisher reach out to me and say, "We want you to turn your course into a book." And so then I had the great pleasure of getting to write a narrative version of that course, describing my relationship, describing my history in relationships and how I developed the patterns I did, and how,
Mm.
through examples from my experience as a therapist to my own life, I share the sort of normal foibles, mistakes we make as humans, why it's so hard to be in relationship, and provide a path to help people have healthier relationships. And it's written for couples, but honestly, it's for any relationship.
Mm.
If you want deeper, richer, more emotionally intimate relationship in any of your relationships, you can
Mm.
have it through the book.
Yeah. And going back to the couples, just I think this is we know that our divorce rate here is just skyrocketing high, right? Do you think something
Mhm.
like this, like, is communication one of the big issues around this, and how, you know, is this something that could change the way that our divorce rate and the way that people communicate in relationship?
I believe so. I mean, my motto for my business is stronger relationships for a better world, because every problem we have in the world is a relationship issue. It's a failure to be understood. It's a failure to connect. It's placing being right over being in connection. It's all comes down to relationship issues. And so I have the very deluded dream that I'm going to change the world by helping people have healthier relationships. And so that is the plan, is to help people realize we're making it harder for ourselves. We're making it harder than it needs to be, and there is a route back. I have, in my 30 years, because I was a specialist in trauma, I received referrals for some of the most disturbed relationship issues, like lifetime Hallmark movie of the week craziness situations that I helped couples heal from, multiple affairs or betrayals or secret families, all that sort of stuff, and helped couples come back to health from really extreme circumstances. So I know that anything can be healed short of abuse, and narcissism is challenging in its own way, but short of those things, any relationship can be healed as long as both people want healing for their relationship. And so the divorce rate is unnecessarily high. Along with the binary, we also have a disposable, if you're not satisfied in your relationship, don't settle, leave the relationship. And there's a lesson in any challenge in relationship for us and for our partner that we can learn if we tune our intention to that rather than I'm out.
Yeah. Well, and on a worldview, we know that some of the greatest peace treaties came out of two people being able to sit down and have a conversation that had completely opposing views, right? And so if we
Mhm.
could take these sacred conversations, like moving beyond our personal intimate relationships, even beyond our workforce and beyond and into the realm of politics in the world and the wars that are going on, having this deep listening in these ways of being able to communicate with someone else, it could, I believe it could be really, it's life changing, like transforming on a worldwide level. So I am with you on the belief that that's possible, Carolyn.
I hope so. Let's hope. This is my little drop in the bucket of trying to turn the ship around of it feels dark these days that we're headed in dangerous directions in lots of different levels, and my hope is to try and help transform that and help people to see what else is possible besides we just got to go full throttle in this direction that we're headed.
Well, we have at our fingertips more connection, availability, ways to actually transform this world than we have ever had in the past.
Mhm.
And so there is this. I say before every breakdown, right? There's this, or before every breakthrough, there's this breakdown, and right now we're in the
Mhm.
midst of that shakeup and that breakdown. But through those things happening, we have the ability to have new paths, new ways of being, new energy healing. Like we have the science coming out, we have the authentic relating, we have these sacred conversations, we have all of these opportunities. And if each person keeps bringing their gift and their voice into this world, the only way that we have to go is up. I truly believe that even in the midst of all of the chaos and where we're at, that what's really happening is that all of this stuff is being shown so that all of these
Mhm.
other ways of techniques and healings experiences can come to the surface so our gifts can be activated so that we can then share that into the world and it transforms us.
I believe I am with you 1,000%. And, all prayers and all good energy and all thoughts up to that. And all of us doing our part to try and move us forward in a healing way.
All right, beautiful. Any last words or anything that you might have missed or that you want to share with our community today?
I would just reemphasize that listening is a practice, and there'll be days when it's easy and really meaningful and really powerful, and you'll feel in deep connection to it. And there are days where it just feels like a grind. And don't give up. Keep moving forward and keep looking at every interaction as an opportunity to learn more about yourself, the world, and another person.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us for a course in sacred conversations with Carolyn Sharp. It is now available on our Stream Plus platform. You can join Stream Plus now and gain immediate access to this incredible program. You'll get access to other incredible spiritual teachers and programs also. We're proud to say that Humanity Stream Plus is the largest global streaming platform for conscious raising masterclasses and transformational education. We are a nonprofit and also give back with our One for One program, sharing our content with those who cannot afford the membership. I want to thank our staff today and Steve Farrell, D. Meyer, the production team, Jim Gray, Garth Catterall, Nanette Kennedy, Kennedy Marthaler, Karen Weissert, and the rest of Humanity's team. And especially thank you, Carolyn Sharp, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.